Hello guys, I'm Sudarshan Koirala and welcome back to Data Science Basics. The large language model is the hot topic right now. So is how we can interact with multiple documents. Let's again talk about the chat with multiple documents. Why this is important? Because earlier I created a video about chat with multiple documents, as you can see here, where I explained how you can use OpenAI embeddings and OpenAI model as well as Pinecone. But there is a problem there because our data is being sent to some other third party. That means that it is not private, right? So how to tackle that problem? One of my subscriber also asked me that is it possible to use the model other than OpenAI and also the embeddings where we can embed the document and store that locally so that we can use it later. I have explained all the steps how it happens. Like you have your data, you need to make it into different chunks, embeddings, and you store it into the vector store, how you ask the query and get the results. It's all the same. You can refer to this video which I already created before. I will provide the link in the description. The steps are all the same, but here what we will be doing is using the models and the embeddings other than OpenAI. So we will be using GPT-4all-J model as our large language model, and then we will be using LlamaCpp for embeddings, and we will use ChromaDB for vector store. And it is completely private. As I also showed you here, it's 100% free, 100% private. There is no data leakage, and it is a private GPT, and you don't even need the internet once you download the model. So that is that private. No data leaks at all. Let's go through how we can achieve this private GPT. Okay, once I get the comment from one of the subscribers saying that is there a way to create the private GPT, what my initial thought was to go back to my original code and instead of using OpenAI and Pinecone, use ChromaDB and other models than OpenAI, right? But then I found a tweet from Harrison Chase, who is the one actually who initiated the LangChain project. He says private GPT, and this is actually the private GPT that I'm going to show you today. Instead of me writing the code, I find that there is already the one being created by someone. It is written here that interact privately with your documents using the power of GPT, 100% privately, no data leaks. Okay, enough of the talks now. Let's go and implement this private GPT in your local computer. For that, what you need to do is clone the repository, right? For that, you need to go to this code section here and copy the HTTP path. Go to your local computer in any folder, just do git clone and then just paste that particular thing. If I run this, I already have it. So it says that fatal path already exists. So now you should the repository must be cloned in your computer, and after that if you do ls, there will be your repository. We need to now go inside that particular repository, right? So now I'm inside the particular repository. First thing first, you need to make sure that you have Python 3.10 installed in your local computer. How can you check that? You can just type python -- version, and now I have here 3.10.9. If you have the versions of Python which is less than 3.10, please download the latest Python version. Now we have the Python 3.10. In the GitHub repository, it is not saying to create the virtual environment, but what I recommend you to do is create the virtual environment so that whatever we install, that will be just inside that virtual environment and it is isolated. If you don't know how to do that, I have created already a playlist how you can create the virtual environment. Please refer to that. But now I need to activate that, right? So how I can activate? I can activate source LangChain bean activate, because that is what the virtual environment I have created before. So now what I can do next is install the necessary packages as it is mentioned here, pip install -r requirements.txt. I have already done this, but you get the idea. You need to run this command. So once you run this command, all the necessary packages will be installed. What is the next step we need to do? Here it says that we need to download the two models and place them in a directory of your choice. So for that, what you can do is here you can create a folder called models. So you can do mkdir and you can create the folder models. I have already done that, so I'm not going to create it, but you get the idea. Once you create the folder models, I already have the folders. Just to show you, here I have here, there is the, where is the, yeah, here is the model folders. So now I can go inside the model folders. If you see here, I have already downloaded these two embeddings model as well as the large language model, right? For you, what you can do is you can click this and download it manually, but what I prefer is just hover on top of that link and right click and get the copy link address. And if you go to the terminal and if you type wget, and then if you paste the command and then run this command, so it will take some time to download, and once that is downloaded you can continue this video. So same thing happens to the another link also. So we need to have the embeddings model. Same thing here, you can just right click the link, copy link address, go here, wget command and just paste that link. It will also download. It might take some time. So once that is downloaded, now we can go one step back, right? We are on the main root folder. If I do ls, now there is all the things necessary here, right? Let me make this little bit bigger now. So here you can see that I have the virtual environment being created. And for you, by the way, I have my terminal set up in such a way that it is shown here. But for you, the virtual environment may be activated in front of the terminal, whatever you gave the name, right? Once that is done, what we can do next is rename the example.env to .env. For that, what you can do in the terminal is mv example.env and .env. So once you do that, the example.env will be renamed to .env, because the mv command actually renames as well as moves the folder or directory. And why I am showing you this in the terminal is because if you are working with language models and all these things, you need to know the basics of terminal commands. If you are new, that's not a problem. I have already created a playlist about the terminal commands. Please refer to that. Then you will know all the basic things about the terminal commands. Now, once that is done, it says that this repo uses the state of the union transcript. How we can navigate that? Let me first clear the screen. Now I am in the root folder, right? And there is this source document. If I do ls source document, you can see that there is already a data provided for us, that is state of the union.txt. So the main part now here is whatever data you want to use, you need to place inside the source underscore documents folder. So once that is done, what next, right? So if I again do ls, now there is the ingest file, there is the PrivateGPT file, right? So what is the ingest file now? Here, this is the ingest file where we ingest the data, right? For that, we can just write here vim ingest.file just to show you what it is here. So here is, in the beginning, there is the load single document things, and it starts with txt and all these things. I think it's easier for you if I show you in the GitHub itself, because if I make this smaller, let me make this bigger. So if I go here and if I just open this ingest file, because we can navigate different files and folders really easily. So here, what is happening here is load single documents, and here it starts with .txt, .pdf, .csv. So whichever type of the folder you have, this is supported by this by default. If you want to have more, then you need to modify the code, right? What is doing here first is loading the documents. That is what I showed you in my previous video also. First, you have the data and you need to load the data, right? And then here it is doing the load environment variables. You need to have the environment variables also. And then load documents and split into chunks. So that is what we did in our video also before, right? Here is the data. Then we split that into different chunks, right? So once the data is splitted into different chunks with LangChain, and what we need to do is create the embeddings. Before we created embeddings with OpenAI embeddings, but here we are using the LlamaCpp embeddings. Let me close this. So LlamaCpp embeddings is being used to embed that particular chunks of the data. So if I just show you here, this part of the things that use OpenAI embeddings, we used that before, but here we are using the LlamaCpp embeddings. That is what is going here. And then we create and store locally the vector store, right? We using the ChromaDB. What we did here before, we use the Pinecone to store the vectors. So that is all the same steps, but we are doing it locally without using OpenAI and Pinecone. So that is what is happening here in the ingest py file. So what you need to do now is go to your terminal and on the root folder, meaning that if you do ls, you need to be in the root folder of PrivateGPT. And what you can do now is just run Python 3 and give the name ingest. So if you run this ingest.py, now this is going to take a lot of time based on your particular machine, because for my machine also, just to do the chunks and the embedding part, it took me around 10 minutes. For you, it can take, depending upon your machine, minutes to hours. So you need to have a patience here. Once that is completed successfully, then we can go to privategpt.py. All the things that we spoke is being then implemented in this main file. Here is the LlamaCpp embeddings, and then here is the DB, the Chroma part, and here is the LlamaCpp model, GPT for all model, and there is the retrieval QA, because we need to retrieve the question answering part from the chain, right? And then we are running the question and answer, and all these things is happening behind the scene. So in this part, what we are doing is this part here. Here we have user query, and then we do the embeddings. We go to the vector store, and relevant data chunks is being extracted and passed into LLM, and then we get the response. So that is what it is happening. Now let me make this terminal a little bit bigger, because this is the main part here now. What we can do next is we can just do privategpt.py, right? So when I run this command now, you can see it is now using the LlamaCpp, LangChain, as well as the GPT for all J model, right? So this is what you should also see in your screen. And now it is asking here, enter a query, right? So what is the query? That is the question that we pass into the model, right? Let me take one example from the LangChain documentation itself, because this is the State of the Union paper. And let me ask the same question here, Control V. What is the purpose of the NATO alliance? Now what is going to do is taking that part of the code, it is then converted to the embeddings. It will do the vector search or semantic search or the similarity search, whatever you want to call it. And then it passes that into the GPT for all model, and it will provide us the answer. By the way, in the beginning, this GPT tokenize unknown token and there is empty. This is normal. It will show this, so you don't need to worry at all. So we need to wait a little bit, and now it says the answer here. If you can see here, the purpose of NATO alliance is to secure peace and stability in Europe after World War II and all these things. And here is the question, right? And there is the answer, and then there is the source also being provided for us. So there is one, how many sources are provided? So there is one of the source here, there is second source here, there is third source here. Yeah, there are 3 different sources being provided for that particular question. So that is how it works. Yeah, we created our own private GPT locally without using OpenAI and other different online platforms. Our data is now completely secure on your local machine. By the way, you can run this now without the internet also, because it's all locally and you can run this locally. Okay, that's great. And now we have our own private GPT. But what if we have a good looking UI using Gradio or Streamlit or something like that, right? By the way, when you are working with the open source project, always go to the issues or the pull request where all the contributors are contributing to this particular project. So what I find here is one of the guy actually already created a pull request, add UI chat simple. So here BNK8071 AI engineer, he actually created a simple UI already, and he's providing the pull request. Depending upon when you watch this video, maybe it will be already integrated into this PrivateGPT repo. But now what I did is I took the code what he has written here. Thank you very much VNK8071. I'm going to use your code now here to show the UI part. So here we can go to the file change section, and this is what he has changed here. So first we need to, there is 3 files being changed. One is the requirements.txt, because we need to have the Gradio. He's using the Gradio for this. And the next one is how to run this. There is this readme.md file, so we can run in this way. And there is the PrivateGPT_UI chat.py. That is the new file he created, which uses the UI for us. I have already implemented this code. For some reason, I need to do some changes in the code. For now, I can just exit from the terminal and let me clear the screen. Now I can run that particular file in my local host, right? So for that, what I can do is I can write Python 3, and then what I can do is PrivateGPT_UI chat.py, right? I did some minor modifications to make it work in my local computer, but now as you can see here, I run this Python 3 PrivateGPT_UI chat. It says that it's running on a local host, and if I just click this, it should open in the local host with a good UI here. So now what we can do, just to navigate this here, there is the title and there is the prompt and all the things shown in the left side, and on the main screen here there is the ask anything here, there is the send icon, and there is the clear history. What I can do is just ask the same question here now, right? What is the purpose of the NATO alliance? If I go to this code, I say Control V, and if I run this, now the same thing that I ran in the terminal is now going to run in this UI. So all the things are running in the terminal itself, but it is hosted now in the UI so that we get the response as well as resources in the UI itself. Now it is going through this just to show you how it looks like. If you can see here, when I run the command on the UI itself, so it ran here in the terminal, and now it is going through the response part. So now when we get the response in the terminal, as you can see here, the purpose of NATO alliance is to prompt. Now it is also shown us in the UI. So here is the answer, and here is the resources for us. So here is the question, right? What is the purpose of NATO alliance? And here is the other questions. Let me ask one more question just to see how the chat UI looks, right? So the next question can be here. What is, I can just copy this, right? Control C, go back to the Gradio. I can just ask one more question. I can send it, and now that question is being again sent to large language model, and all the things is now going to happen the same, and we will get the response out of it. So yeah, this is similar to ChatGPT now, right? But it is running locally in your computer using all the tools that we want to use. There is the LangChain, there is LlamaCpp, there is GPT for all, there is ChromaDB, and all the things being involved. So yeah, when this is giving the response, that is all I want to show you in this video. And by the way, you can go and watch this ChatGPT for your data video if you want to use OpenAI embeddings and OpenAI model. It's completely working fine. But if you want to have your locally hosted private GPT, then this is the way to go. So now you can see the question was, what is the US Department of Justice doing to combat the crimes of Russian oligarchs? And here is the answer, and here is the resources that is taken, meaning that that is the chunk of the data from that particular vector store. So yeah, that is how it works. I hope you will go through this and implement your own. But if you face any problem, because there might be some updates in the GitHub repo and something like that, what I recommend you to do is go to this PrivateGPT GitHub repository, go to this issues section, because as you can see here, there are already 70 different issues. There are already 16 different pull requests, meaning that it is getting better and better each day. So whenever you watch this video, maybe some of the pull requests will be already implemented. As I said, this Gradio UI might be already integrated, and whatever you face the issues, that might be already being solved by other contributors or other people who is using this PrivateGPT. Yeah, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If yes, please give thumbs up. And then if you haven't subscribed, do so. It helps motivate me because it takes a lot of time to do some research and implement something and record the video, edit the video, and all these things. Your like and subscribe might motivate the content creators. It's not only for me, but whatever video you watch, if you find it helpful, please give thumbs up. Or if you find the channel interesting or many other different interesting topics, consider subscribing. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.